Well, it's morning and trying actually nooning because I've been on the phone all morning with nothing less than a whole bunch of wasted time on the phone, except a wonderful conversation with Tony and getting the story of this boat and get more stuff from his mom. It's just, oh my God, I almost cried. But moving right along, I'm extremely disappointed because this boat was supposed to head to the shop today. I called him, and the guy was super, super great to talk to, and he apologized up one side and down the other. It seemed that he was not informed about a lot of work that was coming in, keel repairs, boats being pulled out of the water last minute, and the guy, the estimator, and the scheduling guy weren't on the same page, and the start date on this had been gone from next week to sometime in the first part of November. That's like a month from now. That's just not going to cut it. I need to find someone that can do the gel coat on this, or I'll end up having to do it myself. And I have so much stuff that I'm doing for Tony anyway, with the engine build and the paint work and the trailer and the restore of the trailer, that I wanted to send this to someone else to get the gel coat work done on the top while I was working on the other components, so that we could at least get this done and back into a nice heated garage for the winter, up at Tony's house, right? So worst case scenario, best case scenario is if the snowflakes ain't flying, they can take it out and do test and tune, which would be phenomenal, even if it was like the first week in November, weather provided, and it's not snowing. But you know what? I've seen 70-degree Thanksgivings, so I'm not saying it's out of the ballpark for being able to get in the water yet this year. So my level of frustration today is somewhere between the moon and the stratosphere, because kind of like we're in orbit, and really frustrated. So in the meantime, what's going to happen next is I'm just going to vacuum up this carpet and take any kind of garbage out of there, get all the crap out of the gunnels, and I'm going to just clean this up, and anything that's hidden up underneath there, which I saw some hidden treasures up under there. Mountain Dew can. Diet Dew. But there's just all kinds of crap up there, and I'm going to get all that stuff cleaned out. I will probably steam clean these carpets today and get them cleaned up as much as I can. There's a lot of damage to the carpet. If I could find red, white, and blue carpet that would match this, if someone knows where I could find that material, boy, I tell you what, you could become a hero real fast. But this carpet is probably, it's just not, I've never seen anything like it. I could probably lean on some of my carpet guys, but I'm quite possible there's no way you'll find this material anywhere. But never say never. This is going to get the thing transplanted onto the work trailer anyway, and I'm going to work on wet sanding and buffing the sides, and then probably bring it back in and elevate it and buff the keel and get all that squared away, and then start working on making the plate for the back of the transom, because I'm going to take and go like this and across here and across here like this, so it'll be really nice looking. And out of 1/8 inch, probably thinking 4043 or 30, I think it's 303. It's a softer aluminum that you can polish, so kind of go in that direction. And then I am undecided on what I'm doing here, but I'm going to make a choice here. I'm going to go look through some of the stuff I got, and if I've got like something that I scrapped off another boat that's presentable, we're going to think about that. But otherwise, I'll make a brand new one for it. I have the capacity to roll material here to make this radius so that would fit there, and it would just butt up against the other rail on this side. So the metal part that would be, so nothing disturbs this. So that's where we're at, and I'm really frustrated. I also talked to Tony about a lot of these rivets on they just need to be retightened. And there's a trick to that, and I will show you guys how to do that. Excuse me. Too much dust in the shop. Anyway, so I'll show you that trick on how to retighten rivets. It's a thing, really. And if you can't retighten them, if they're damaged or they break, then drill them and replace them. So, and there may be some that have to be drilled and replaced, and I'm going to look into that as well. But that's kind of where I'm headed today. Is I'll show you the process once I get going here with the whole trailer swap thing. Lift the boat up, zing this one out from underneath. We'll take a look at the hull and see what kind of work needs to be done under there, so I get a pretty good idea. But it needs to get transplanted because I need to have this trailer completely scrapped out by probably Friday sometime to get it to the sandblaster, or have it so it can go to the sandblast, because I don't think he does any work over the weekend, but at least have it ready to go to him by Monday. Then he'll blast it. I get it back on Tuesday, and it comes in here and gets painted on Tuesday. Then it has to dry for a few days. And while it's in the process of drying, I'll recondition the axle. We already talked this morning about going LED lights because he said he was tired of popping trailer light bulbs. The license plate, that's going to go on Tony's wall of fame because that's no longer used. Minnesota uses a lifetime license on the tongue, which I'm going to have him get that. He asked today if this could be saved, so we're going to try to do that. And this is the original Dilly decal. Doesn't care about the General Tire garbage. And that's being replaced. You'd think that they could at least put the damn decal on straight. I mean, seriously, how shoddy is that? And this one's even crooked too, and what concerns me is when you get rust right up to this edge. But that's okay. We're going to trim off the rough stuff at the top here and make that line really crisp so it doesn't screw up the lettering, of course, but I'll trim that off. And this was even put on slightly crooked, but that's okay. But we're going to save this. He wants to save that. So, okay, I know the paint's good that's behind it because it's covered. But when you're sandblasting right up to the edge like this, you really got to put a lot of stuff on it, like masking tape across this. And then also, I like to put duct tape over the top of the masking tape. Do not put duct tape directly over this. The duct tape will ruin this. So use automotive masking tape, not that cheap shit at Walmart. Get the good stuff, good 3M, and cover this first, and then put your duct tape over the top of it and cut out all your edges, or do a decent tape job. Also, another little hot tip of the day too is if your duct tape rolls over this edge slightly, it'll stop the sandblasting from trying to push this back and tear this up. You're better off to just take and hand sand what you need to with like 80 grit, right along here. It's a little time consuming, but it looks nice when it's all said and done. And then, obviously I'll paint right up to that edge, which the paint will be thicker than this material, but it'll look good when it's all said and done. You can also use fine line tape and go along this edge with fine line tape, and you get a really gorgeous edge if you're really over the top, but it's a boat trailer. So on there. We're also going to discontinue this. It's going to get welded. We've talked about this. This will get sandblasted, and then we're going to sandblast it. I'm going to prime it so it won't rust under there as much. And then I'm going to grind just that edge and weld that edge, and then it'll get touch-up sandblast. And so that tongue is going to be solid with the trailer bed. It's all going to be one piece. It's a great idea. Tilt bed trailers is a great idea if you're going to launch a flat bottom into a pond, you know, but nobody launched boats like this. Seriously, they just didn't. It was probably a great idea back in the day, way back, like in the 50s, you know, for small little boats and things like that, but it really just, they suck. So that's it. And then, of course, this is galvanized, so that brings into a whole new book of rules when it comes to paint and getting paint to stick to galvanizing. It's not fun. So that'll have to be sandblasted and really etch the shit out of the galvanizing. But that's going to be 2007 blue, like the last trailer I did. This winch being brown isn't really matching things. So don't be a bit surprised if that don't get taken apart and turned blue or silver or something other than turd brown. So that's just a quick rundown of things. Oh, we were talking about this early. Tony and I were talking about earlier about the original. He said that Dad caulked the boat because that it was leaking water on a hard power turn into the interior of the boat. And the reason is because all of this caulk that the factory put in here had dried out too much and cracked. So we're gonna, when this goes back together, we're gonna seal this edge. I mean, after it gets gel coated, we're gonna seal this whole edge. I'll have all this cleaned out in the meantime. You guys will see all that when I clean this all up. But that edge, after all the gel coat work is done, will be sealed, and so it'll be bond, and then, of course, the rub rail will go on top of that. And then whatever, God, this thing is annoying. And whatever caulk left over from the from Tony's dad, trying to, you know, seal it up, keep the water flow out of the boat. Whatever's left over that, we're going to clean that up too. That'll all come off there, probably in the wet sanding process, I would assume. Majority of it will. So that's what's going on today. So we'll keep you posted. And I hope you like the update. Well, it's time for this guy to go flying through the air. I mean, flying up in the air. Well, not flying through the air. Hope this ain't too annoying for you. Should be hearing clicking any minute, you'd think. Did I chirp that? Oops. Probably should do that. Safety and all. I was lowering it down the other day and forgot to trip the trigger. There, now we'll hear clicking. So that means it won't drop it on my head. I already have probably pretty much enough clearance underneath this boat. Obviously to get this trailer out. But I like a little extra. And I want to go in and inspect the bottom of this as soon as I get the trailer out. There, we're at the top of the travel. I'm going to go down slightly, because I never leave it pinned. Well, that's how you do that. So now we got to get the tractor fired up and get this thing pulled out of here, and then we're going to go inspect the hull quick, and then we're going to shove another trailer underneath it. Just that fast. Yeah, time to inspect the belly of the beast. And take a look at what's going on underneath here. I already see one spot right there that I'll have to wet sand that glue off there, or whatever the hell that is, because that's not coming off. I assume it was there to replace or fix a boo-boo. And there's more boo-boos. That's a nasty boo-boo. I might do something with that. I might fill it with Duraglass or something to get it at least white. So I might look into that right after it's sanded. You know, that's pretty nasty. So I think I'm probably going to do something with that. I'm not going to do any gel coat repairs on the hull. We've already talked about this. And I don't really think that we need to. The battle scars that she has is all part of... And there's another one there too. The battle scars she has is all part of its integrity or lack thereof, but The underside of this is really shiny. I don't think you can see that, but it's pretty shiny to start with. So this is going to be probably one of the easiest buff jobs I've ever done on the underside of a boat. Most of them are so nasty. I mean, they're just nasty. You know, they got left in the water and they're corroded and they're yellowed and you got to try to sand out that, and it's just a major undertaking. There's a lot of wear on this keel. A lot. But I don't see any reason to rebuild the keel, because as long as it's not through, I don't know, somebody wiped some silicone snot in here, it looks like, which that's bad, because if you ever have to deal with this as a body man, if you ever have to deal with this stuff, you have to get that crap out of there. So you're almost better off to just, you got to dig at it and sandblast it and do all kinds of things to get rid of it. It's a pain in the ass. But I'm pretty happy with the underside. It's going to be a lot less work. The sides, that's going to have to be wet sanded. So now you get to see what that's like. And we're going to set it on this trailer. This is a work trailer at the shop here. It is easy to rebunk. Loosen a couple of bolts, slide the bunks in, and we're just going to plop it on that keel rollers. I'll adjust the bunks after the fact. And the one thing I don't like about this trailer is it's so freaking wide. It just barely fits in the shop. I mean, it's like threading a needle. And when you're threading a needle with a big tractor, you better be good at needle threading. Plus, I've always seemed to acquire things along the outside of my hoist for some reason. I don't know why. Just things pile up here. But anyway, that's the plan. Well, that was frustrating. Only because I hit the picture button instead of the video button, or photo button instead of video button. So I was incoherently babbling to myself, evidently. But this thing got it lowered down, got to miss all that. Sorry, guys. But it's sitting on the bunks just exactly, perfectly how I wanted it to. It leaves this whole front end open so you can work on it and work on the keel, which is great. The sides, you can get around the sides nice and easy for sanding, buffing, what have you. So that's why I like this trailer. It's very universal. So yeah, it's going to work out perfect. And obviously I was working with some fairly tight tolerances. So I'm going to leave the crane straps with the boat. Probably drop the front one out of there, but the back one I'll just throw in the back of the boat for now. It'll work fine. And now I want to get after all the rest of this stuff. I just found out this jack needs to be rebuilt because it does this cranky thing with no one home. So something is missing up here. Good thing I keep a lot of these trailer jacks around here that get scrapped out. They're broken in some fashion, but usually not there. Usually the wheel that's ruined, and that's why they get scrapped. That's it for now. So I wanted to do this one more time because all the cleaning and washing and sanding and cleaning and washing and washing and cleaning. Ooh, I see a rivet I missed. Kinda. I'm gonna have to do something with these two guys. They look drilled out to me, but yeah, gotta clean that up. Cleaning, yeah, that's it. So anyway, last time you saw this skanky old carpet, it was nasty. Red, white, blue, green, far too many colors extra. So, and brown and black and oil stained and so on there. And it got its first, that was completely black with oil stain all the way across the back there. So after a extensive steam cleaning and degreasing and defishing, God, this thing smells like fish. Holy Christ. They must have caught a ton of fish in this thing. Because the carpet, the whole time I was pressure washing or steam cleaning it, the fish smell was Unreal. So, well, it still stinks, to be honest with you, and I got to get it in the sun here and let it dry out, because if I put it in my shop, it's going to smell like all hell. So, anyway, all this funk, as Mopar Joe would call it, is gone and removed and so on there, and I did get the transom really wet, so that's sad, but that'll dry out very quickly because it's super dry atmosphere. It'll dry out pretty fast. Kind of sad that I got it in here, but like I said, this wood will dry out super fast. It's not going to hurt it a bit to get a little moisture to it once in a while, as long as it's not doused in moisture. And I did want to test it when it was wet, and it does feel there's some soft spots in there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a little soft. But the rest of this is pretty good. Some of their soft spots, but not like I'm used to seeing with rotten transoms that come in here. This one is really good. Granted, it gets all pulled together when everything's put back together. So that's really good news for Tony, is the transom is a lot more solid than I thought it was. Well, anyway, just wanted to go over, you know, this whole thing. Now I got to start wet sanding these sides, but I'm going to let this sit in the sun for a minute and take a break, and I'll tune it out. Okay, we're going to do something here. I'm going to take out my knife, and I'm going to show you some shit. And hopefully you can get this. But this right here is Punky Brewster. There's my knife, sinking, not touching nothing, down a couple of inches. Yeah, there's at least a couple of inches. Nobody home. There's right there where the motor sits. Okay, it's just right there. Okay, there's the motor sitting. Whoops, there's the motor sitting. There's the motor sitting, and I'm sinking in about a half an inch. Okay, there's the that, and I'm sinking in over here. All right, about an inch. So your outside edges are getting kind of poopy. Of course, there's all this crap in here. This is solid, but this is okay. You saw where it was over here. Okay, as we go back to this edge and sinking in, but I'm going to show you this. Watch. Nobody home over here. There is no transom over here. There's a big, huge, empty, rotten fucking hole. Okay? So, that's a weakness. But, if we put a metal plate on here, and we put a metal plate on here, and you got good wood here, you know, it's going to start to piss this side off, dust the stress cracks on the inside, which aren't that bad, and just don't hit anything. You know, you'll be good for a long time. Or you split it, and I put a transom in it. And that wouldn't be the first boat I've split by any stretch of the imagination. But when the wood gets so rotten that you can slide a knife down here and you can see how, boy, I must be getting really tired. Okay, last try. So we got a rotten spot in the transom over here. It's about a couple inches long, give or take. You got, that's right below it. You got a lot of meat over here. You got all that meat over there. And keep in mind, you're going to go up. You got all that wood there. Okay? Then, what my opinion is, first of all, it's only getting 100 horse. You're putting a piece of metal on the back to span the load across the glass, which sub-supports the glass. You're putting a piece of metal on the front, sub-supports the glass. The boat is very old. The boat isn't going to get used unless you're out there jumping waves and driving it like a wild man. Yeah, it's going to see a lot of abuse, but trimming it up and making it scoot, you're not going to do it on chop. So I don't think it justifies the transom. Last thing I'm going to mention about this whole deal is, number one, look at all this goo-boo-boo, and look at this gap in here. That is not helping matters. If this transom would have been built up to where the bottom of the top part is, up here, which is about a half an inch more wood,
this wouldn't be happening like this, okay? There wouldn't be this gap. There's no seal in here either to keep water out. So there's a bunch of flaws in this whole situation. And the factory just shoved a bunch of this stupid caulk crap in here and didn't do a very good job of it. You know, if we seal this out and put some Duraglass in here and pack this son of a bitch full of Duraglass and make it square, that might be an idea. And seal it. That might help it live. So just throwing it out there for your consideration.
Yeah, okay. I'm tired. It's been a long day at the shop. And I'm putting this in at the end of this video because I actually included a couple of text messages back and forth to Tony about the validity of that transom. The reality is, yes, it should be replaced, but what are we going to do with the boat? Okay? So it gets down to, if that transom dries out, we pack it, dig out the bad spots, put Duraglass in there, bond with the good wood that's there to give it strength and stability. The boat isn't going to be used as balls out hot rod jumping waves like freaking James Bond, you know, and beaches and that sort of stuff and transom abuse. And it's just going to be driven around as a show pony and given a rip across the smooth lake. You know, I really don't see that transom ever failing in Tony's lifetime. Um, Sorry for my poor posture, but I'm really tired. I'm on autopilot. It's been crazy the last couple of days getting to where we start to where we are today. And as you can see, there's been just a ridiculous amount of changes in that boat. Um, everything, everything changed. Um, so I'm bringing in a couple other people in on this too, as far as doing the gel coat works, because I want to focus on the engine build. I got the trailer to do. There's just so much going on here. That's why I was trying to outsource the fiberglass work, or gel coat work. Actually, no, there's really no fiberglass work to be done. There's no damage other than some um, embrittlement, which I've tried to explain before in other videos about embrittlement and aging gel coats. So you just take care of the stress cracks with, you know, get them out of there, grind them out of there, and build them up with primer and block them again and get it squared away. And that's what you do. Unless you're going to strip the whole thing, and that's way over the top. The initial bid that I got for doing the work is so insanely high. Um, that's just, I can't, no. I can't swallow it. And I know Tony likes the people, and they were just fantastic to deal with on my end, but um, it was, my opinion, it was bid it out your ass, and if we get it, we get it, and we don't, who cares? You know, I mean, because they have a lot going on, and I think the guy was being just honestly just polite to begin with. I think that they didn't want the job, and I've been doing this a long time, and when you get people kicking back like that, it's just they don't want to work. Um, but I have a guy who's a restorer, and he's incredible. Everything he does, he restores Mopar muscle cars, and he's actually just finishing up a AMX, Javelin AMX. Um, I called him today, and he was putting the bumper on. He said my timing was perfect to be able to get another job in after this one. So if he gets that done, I might be able to squeeze this thing in and get it done. And he's down by La Crosse area. So, and I know he's a lot more responsible on his pricing, but he does incredible work. He restored a Chrysler Conqueror, and it's just what he did was just off the charts impressive. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention about the videos was that what I'm going to do with that transom is kind of a corner cutting deal. I'm going to rebond the wood to a fiberglass based material, which is Duraglass, and I'm going to fill that gap in there as much as I can once it dries out. Don't do that when it's wet. Just dry it out really good. Let it sit for, a few weeks, and then that gap that's on the back of that boat is just a massive no-no. Even we don't necessarily have to make it square and trim it up like that, but just fill that gap so water can't get in there, and that will help it live a long time too. Don't put silicone caulk in any transom like this. That irritates me to no end when I run into that, because that stuff just really doesn't. It works. It's a band-aid, but if you put that stuff in there and a guy like me gets a job in like that, there's the words and the cussing and the, yeah, because you got to dig all that out, and you can cut out Duraglass really fast. That's usually not a big deal if you want to break the seal between the top and the bottom and put a transom in it. Um, I don't know how much of the original green caulk that they used when they bonded the boat together is left. I'm pretty sure almost all of it is cracked, and the only thing holding this boat together is actually the rivets, which is a bad thing. But again, we're going to go back to what are we going to do with this boat? And whenever you guys restore boats, you really got to ask your customer or yourself, if it's your own boat, you got to ask, what am I going to do with this thing? You know, am I going to use it like every single freaking weekend? Am I going to be the weekend warrior? I'm on the river. I'm on the, at the beach. Or is this kind of a show pony novelty piece in your collection that you're going to take out and use a few times a year, and, that sort of thing? For Tony, he's going to take his mom and dad out in this restored boat because it's really important. And I am going to talk about, when I get all the rest of the information together, I'm going to talk about the whole history of this boat and how it came to pass in his family, and try to not misquote anything, because it's such a cool history. You guys are going to just be floored, and it will be a longer video when I start talking about that. But right now, it's basically get this thing prepped, get the bottom part of the boat taken care of, get the trailer tore down, get that through paint, get that put back together, and get that headed towards, restoration, and then get the top deck re-gel coated, so it's a blue metal flake and really beautiful again. The interior and stuff like that, that's the thing I did not bring up very much, other than just, I steam cleaned the carpet, but I didn't bring up the interior, and I want to talk briefly about that. There's new seats going in it. We're on the fence. We got to replace the wood in the side pads on the gunnels, because that's all rotten, and now we're at the point of we got to make some choices on, are we going to replace the vinyl and have an upholstery shop do the vinyl inside the gunnels, where this, put your water skis and such. That stuff is readily available. I can get that, so I'll just go to my upholstery guy here in town, and he'll get it for me, however much I need, and I'll do that. But I want to talk to my upholstery guy about whether or not he, can get the material that was on the sides, because the embossment is quite a bit different than the other. I think it'd be great to match the stuff inside the gunnels with the pad on the outside of the gunnels, but Tony would really like to keep it original. We may choose to keep it original just for the concept of being patina, but having a whole beautiful interior and using two old pieces doesn't make a lot of sense either. So these are decisions that he's going to make down the road. I'm going to start the engine build probably this weekend, and I'll be doing some preliminary things on the Mercury that's going to go on it. And at that point, there's going to be a longer video about the history of the boat. So that's coming up. This boat does have its own playlist. It'll have its own playlist all the way through, everything start to finish, to turnkey to the customer. So I know this didn't get a lot of views, but you know what? If you guys can get some takeaway on this, what not to do and what to do out of all the videos, if you're trying to do this on your own. I'm going to retire soon, so I'm just going to give some advice out here. Um, I'm just not um, I'm just not going to continue to stay doing what I do for till I take a dirt nap. So I want to enjoy a little bit of life. Um, and I've done this for a very long time. So um, I guess I just was really trying to do a follow up after the really poor quality messages that I left on the testing of the transom, and where the rotten wood was. And it's bad. Yes, it should be replaced. There's no doubt. But again, we're back to what are you going to do with it? Is it going to be in a controlled environment? It's going to get thrown out in the rhubarb? No, this thing's going to sit in a heated, controlled environment for the balance of its days, and it's going to be a show pony. Um, Used a few times a year, that sort of thing. Weather provided, sunny day boat. Um, it's not like he uses his Ranger bass boat too, because he runs that thing. I mean, he goes out and has some fun. Anyway, just following up on this thing, I didn't want it to be up too awful long because this video is going to probably be 40 minutes. Um, but I just wanted to follow up on a few things here. So, like and subscribe. It's going to be quite a ride on this one. We're going to go as fast as we can go as far as the build's concerned, because I really want to get it home in his hands before the weather turns. So, less I don't have the room for storage, and this boat needs to be stored inside. So one way or the other, it will be, even if we don't finish this project till spring, which I really hope that is not the case. I hope I can get people in line to help, and we can get this done. I've seen what people can do on YouTube when they all pitch in, and I saw a car go from the West Coast all the way across the country, everybody doing a little bit to it, and ended up in the hands of a guy and actually made it past on a drag strip. So if people in YouTube can get together and do that, a boat restore is not out of the question, or at least parts of it, I mean, to help speed it up. So, we'll see what happens. And like I said, like and subscribe. This is going to be quite a ride.